So where should your club be at the top of the backswing? Because we've all watched golf on TV, we've all seen some different positions. Typically, we've got across the line, laid off, or parallel to target. Let's ignore this one for now because we all know that's probably going to work if everything else goes well. But out of the other two, across the line, laid off, which one's better? Which one's right for you? I'm filming this during the WGC, so if you're watching, you probably have seen Matt Wolff in other events as well, who's known for his swing and might be known for, okay, shot 11 over, and he might be remembered for a while for doing this. This cost him no shots, but I thought I'd just throw it in there because it's just happened, and amateurs watching, it's quite nice to see the pros do that, just so you know how hard golf is physically and mentally. Again, this cost him no shots, so it's okay. It was a bit too late for that anyway. But anyway, Matt Wolff, great player, and he's very obviously across the line. Fitzpatrick was leading after day one. He's a bit more laid off. Now, they obviously both work because, Matt Wolff's great and Fitzpatrick is, leading. So they work, but they only work because other conditions being met. And when we see these positions with amateurs, sometimes those conditions aren't being met. For example, let's go in Matt Wolff, where he takes the club head outside and keeps going, where his shoulder is internally rotated and he's got his high elbow and he's across the line like that. That's fine, because to shallow the club from there, which is doing this, you can just change your shoulder position and bring the elbow back round. And as he does that with his turn, everything looks quite neutralish through the ball. So that works. When you have the club across the line like this, as your hands come down, the club head falls behind. And if you are across the line, you need it to fall behind because you're trying to get shallower. So that's a good thing. Times it doesn't work, and the most common one we see is where players don't keep the club head outside the hands or even through the hands. They go behind the hands or inside here. So the momentum of the club head and the hands gets it across the line at the top, but things don't drop down. They keep going this way. So although, because the momentum of the club head in the relationship to the hands, as my hands start working down, it's going to try and fall behind. But because my hands have gone this way, around and over, although the club is trying to shallow, and it probably does shallow, I'm doing it with my hands too far in front. So regardless of the shaft doing this in the downswing, if I've started it like that, because my hands go out too far in front, I'm still going to end up cutting across it, pulls, slices, heely shots, and be a bit steep. So more chance of working if you're here, less chance of working if you're here and going across line that way. So if that matches up and you're similar to Matt Wolff in terms of that first move and being there at the top of the swing, and you can transition it with that shallowing effect, then it does work. But if you're someone that rolls it behind and gets across the line, less likely. Let's look at the other one, the laid off position. Now, it works because Fitzpatrick has got deeper hands here. He can maintain that shaft position down. And the opposite is true. Where someone across the line will let the hands come down, the shaft falls behind. If you're laid off and you let the hands come down, the shaft starts kicking out in front. So it steepens up, which again, you need, because you can't go from here and shallow it. You wouldn't want to do that because now I'm in all sorts of trouble. So you need the shaft to kick out, and that's going to happen because of the turn. So as I turn my body, shaft kicks out, club head goes towards the golf ball, good angle of attack. And it happens as well because if I have the club here and my hands come down, the club head can work towards the ball that way. So that works if you're deep enough with the hands. Again, occasionally we will see players lay off the club, and I'm just thinking back to my last online lesson, and it'll be laid off, but not very deep. So the hands aren't back here. So either no turn or the hands are just lifted up and separated from the body. So if I'm laid off, but my hands aren't deep enough, don't forget the club wants to kick that way. If it's kicking that way with my hands in front of my body and I've got this turning element going on, that's not going to work. You're going to have to adjust something on the way through, and it's usually some type of early extension to save it. So as long as you're matching up positions on the way back and how you get there, then it can work on the way down if there's no physical limitations as well. So if you're across the line or laid off, don't worry about what mates are saying in terms of, oh, you've gone a bit long across the line there, because you might need that. It's a very dangerous thing, for example, to, say, shorten your swing. If you're quite tidy here, and now the club's steep, but don't forget I'm going to go across the line and shallow it. But if you just shorten someone's swing and they stop here, now all of a sudden, with this very steep, shorter backswing, shallow in it's not going to have the same effect. Again, you'll probably have the hands go out there and you'll be a bit steep on it. So just for cosmetics reasons, don't change it. Make sure you know what's going to happen in the downswing, whether you're here or here, how you got across the line, if that's the move we're talking about, where you are in terms of depth when you are laid off, and what happens on the way down. Make sure you know what you're going to change, because just visually, it doesn't matter.